Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the In Between the Stitches podcast. I am your host, Brady Wilson, with my co-host, Chase Olschwanger.
What's going on?
Well, it's good to be back in the podcast studio today. Thank you again for everybody that watched our draft show. We greatly appreciated all the feedback. We appreciated all of the viewers, and we had a lot of fun. 8.5 hours of draft show for me. Donnell got in with us there for about 4.5 of it. You were there for a pretty good chunk of it. You were there for all day one and a pretty good sized chunk of day two.
Mm-hmm. It was good stuff.
It was a lot of fun. I'm super happy that we were finally able to do it in a good studio. That wasn't this one. No offense to this one, but this one is not made for
just more professional
cameras. This one has the mics coming out of the desk, and it blocks what you can see. And so there was just some technical issues, and I know we still had some technical issues with the camera that kept freezing.
I finally figured out that it was when you put your thumbs up,
and some other I guess motions that Apple doesn't like you to make, which I don't understand why, but that's Apple for you, I guess. Talked with Dean today about that. The guy that I had got in the studio, all of the stuff from, and he was like, yeah, I don't know why it does that either. so even the guy that I would have been leaning on technically didn't know why it was doing it. But it's good to be back here, and let's talk about some non-draft stuff for the first portion of the show. And we go to hockey, where we're going to update every series. I don't think we updated every series last time, as the Stars are up 3-2 over the Colorado Avalanche. You have played, it has been an up and down series. I feel like, all 3 wins, I feel like the Stars have played. I feel like in other games they've looked, other than game 4, I thought the Stars looked pretty good in game 1, and they just got kind of unlucky. But other than that, I think the Stars have played really well. Even though I know 2 overtime wins may not suggest that they've played well, I think the defense played extremely well in both of those games. So there's still something to be redeemed. And then obviously you won both of those games. And then you lose game 4. I mean, you basically just get slaughtered. And then you come back out in game 5 at home, and you put belt to butt on Colorado, and it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, a much needed game. You could say, especially for the Stars offense, when they from the first face-off, literally 9 seconds in,
Johnston right on the back, and then obviously
there was some. Even as a Stars fan, you could say there were some lucky goals that went our way.
Well, yeah, the one that went over Blackwood's back, but
no, it was a very deserved win for the Stars, a much needed win, especially a game that you needed to win, series tied up. You're going to be going back to Colorado for game 6. You don't want to be down 3-2 going to the opposing team's building. So a much needed win, and then hopefully they'll be able to put them to bed tonight.
I didn't see why the game didn't happen yesterday. I just saw that it got moved.
The Stars?
Yeah, apparently, I had a friend tell me that it got moved.
Oh, I thought they just gave them an extra day because they were traveling.
Well, whatever the case, we have game 6 tonight in Colorado. So you're sitting in the catbird seat if you're Dallas, because if you lose tonight, well, you got game 7 at home, and you feel pretty confident about that. We'll see if Miro's back tonight. I don't know. They might want to keep him out unless you need him for a game 7, and then if you don't, great. We won game 6. We can move on and keep him pretty healthy for next series.
Right.
If he does come back tonight and the game was moved, you're going to hear Colorado fans complain about the fact that, they moved it for Miro. Yeah, well, your captain came back, so shut up. In the rest of the NHL, we've already had some series wins. Washington beat Montreal 4-1. Carolina beat New Jersey 4-1, so that'll be a fun series. Toronto is up 3-2 on Ottawa, and the winner of that series will go on to face Florida, who pretty well took care of the Lightning 4-1. In the rest of the West, Winnipeg won last night. I think it was 5-3, 5-2. So they're up 3-2 over St. Louis.
But Blues putting up a hell of a fight.
At least they're putting up a fight. It wasn't a rollover.
Right.
And hopefully they're beating them up so that if whoever wins our series, hopefully us, they're not fresh. They're pretty well beat up.
Yeah, ideally, you want the Stars to take care of business tonight. St. Louis to take game 6 and just make Winnipeg play as many games as possible and give the Stars as much rest as possible.
Yeah. And then in the lower bracket, Vegas is up 3-2 over Minnesota. Minnesota's putting up a hell of a fight. And the Kings are also putting up a solid fight against Edmonton, but Edmonton is also up 3-2. So
that's 3 straight for Edmonton, right?
Yeah, and then I think so. And then tonight, the Maple Leafs, obviously we talked about they're up 3-2. They can close it out tonight versus Ottawa. They're in Ottawa, and then Vegas can close it out tonight in Minnesota, and the Oilers can close it out tonight in Edmonton. So, and if not, if we go to tomorrow, the only game tomorrow is Winnipeg, St. Louis in St. Louis. So maybe St. Louis can rally. Boy, wouldn't that be an upset?
Yeah.
And then obviously, Avs Stars, if needed, Game 7 would be on Saturday. So we'll see. I mean, a lot of series, basically every series could be coming to an end today and tomorrow. Hopefully it does.
Yeah, hopefully ours ends tonight.
But now we look at basketball, and unfortunately, I think that the horse that every Mavs fan was kind of hoping would make a run here just to make that butthole in the GM spot look a lot worse. Got eliminated last night. Luka Doncic and the Los Angeles Lakers. Kind of fun to say. That's not fun, but it's interesting to say. Instead of saying LeBron James and his Lakers, it's Luka Doncic and his Lakers.
Right.
Chase, your thoughts?
I mean, I remember I predicted the Lakers to win when Jordan was on last week or a week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. But the one thing I did say was the Lakers don't have a big, they don't have depth, they don't have a true rotation, and that could hurt them in a 7-game series. And we didn't even reach 6 games. This was over in 5. This was a heavily dominated series by the Timberwolves in every aspect, on defense, inside scoring, outside scoring, and outside of one game, Game 2 in LA, where the Lakers, took care of business pretty easily. This was all Minnesota. There were some close games, but Minnesota ran this series, and Anthony Edwards, as much as I love Luka and LeBron, Anthony Edwards was the best player in this series. And, the upcoming, superstar, he's already a superstar, but the upcoming face of the league, he put on a show, and it was really, really fun to watch, because he's the future. And as much as we want Luka to win, this was really cool for not only the NBA, just for people to watch as this guy's becoming a, generational superstar. I mean, I don't know how many games you watched during the series, if you watched any at all.
0.
Yeah. Look, I don't blame you. But, no, outside of that, the playoffs have been, it started out really good, but then, the Cavs 1-4, the Celtics 1-5, the Lakers in 5 that backfired, because the Wolves 1-5. I'm trying to see what else happened. The Warriors and Rockets, they are in 6. The Pistons and Knicks are in 6. The Clippers and
really, Detroit's taking New York, huh?
Yeah, and honestly, so it's 3-2 New York. But the Pistons have played better. They have, I don't know if you saw the controversy the other night. There was a foul called on a missed 3, and they went back after the game and said, yeah, there should have been a foul called. And Detroit ended up losing by 1 when they had 3 free throws coming up if they would have called the foul. But Detroit has been the better team this series, and they're unfortunately down 3-2. But they play tonight in home. The Clippers down 3-2. They play tonight at home. And then that's about it. I mean, all the East is done. The Bucks went down in 5. Was that Giannis's last game as a Milwaukee Buck? Who knows? Some unfortunate news. Damian Lillard tore his Achilles.
Hey, maybe Milwaukee would trade him for Max Christie, a first-round pick, and Anthony Davis.
Yeah, we'll see. Listen, if there'll be some conversations if Nico finds a way to get Giannis to Dallas. I'll tell you that. I'm not sure how. Look, people will be happy, but they'd have mixed feelings towards Nico. I guess more people would ease up on Nico if he finds a way to get Giannis to Dallas.
Yeah,
I'll tell
he
you
trades all of our first-round picks. Giannis gets more first-round picks than Luka did.
But no, the playoffs have been, it's been entertaining. Going back to, unfortunately, to Dame, he 35 years old, tearing your Achilles, just not ideal. It's hard to come back from that injury in general, but when you're already 35, not going to be playing for another year, it's just really tough. And I feel awful for Dame. Everybody loves Dame. Everyone wants him to get a championship. Just unfortunate that occurred. But other than that, that's about it. It's going to be really weird now watching the playoffs. No Mavs, no Luka. It's just sit back and watch now and just hopefully enjoy some good series and some good play.
Yeah, we move to baseball, give an update. We haven't really been able to update other sports because the draft kind of took over, and I haven't been able to follow. So I'm going to be doing some catch-up work Depends on if we do an episode next week. Next week probably would be our last episode of the semester. Because obviously, we're both still college students. So Chase is actually halfway graduating because I know you still have like an internship and stuff next semester. But he's graduating with his classes. Just he has one more school thing to take care of. So obviously he will be back next semester. I'll be back next semester. We may have one more this semester, then we obviously take our summer hiatus, and maybe we get in, one or two over the summer. Maybe not. We'll see. Maybe try to get in over the trade deadline if we can. Yeah. Seattle is leading the division right now in the West, and then Houston Athletics, and then the Rangers, and then the Angels. The Rangers have just the hits.
Right. That actually just started right now. Actually,
yeah. The game is on right now. So I think nothing on the top of the first. Look, for the Rangers, I'm not panicking yet. It's just now May 1st.
Yeah.
I haven't even done my first full check of the league yet. See where everything sits, which comes usually comes I think it's Memorial Day, either that or Veterans Day, whichever one happens. I think this month is the first time I really look at how is each team doing, and how do we project that going forward. Obviously, the Rangers have not done well. Pitching has been phenomenal. If the bats can get to where everyone knows they can be, we'll be the best team in the American League.
I think I think the solution is I have to go to every single game now, because
I guess you were at the,
I was at the game where they had 18 hits, 15 runs. It was a great experience. It was saw DeGrom light it up, and the bats woke up. I guess I got to go to every game.
I know there's things happening where CY mandated a meeting, and CY mandated some hitting instructions, something like that, like situational hitting. So it sounds like he's getting pretty fed up with.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. And you got to think, you sell Ray Davis on these guys like Jock Peterson and Jake Berger, and these guys are going to make us better offensively. And they're both hitting below 200. They're both just very little power.
I will say Jock's swinging the bat a little better though. Now. He's hitting the ball, and he's hitting it with high exit velocity.
I think what fans need to understand right now is it's still very early in the season. I know it kind of feels like, man, we're already a month in. That feels like a long time. We're 31 games in. Yeah. That feels like a lot. Yeah, in the grand scheme of baseball, you're not even. You're a little over halfway through the first third of the season, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. You are so much still in the infancy of the season. If they're still hitting like this by the All-Star break, then it's. The season's a wash at that point. Yeah. I don't really see it getting out of there. I think what really sucks is that it's not like you can predict these guys. Everyone thought we're going to have a historic offense. Not historic, but we're going to have a really, really good offense. So this isn't like, this isn't like if the bullpen's actually been really, really good through most of the season. Obviously, the bullpen's not going to be perfect. I think some people need to understand that, is that the bullpen is never going to be perfect, especially when you had to make some low-cost solutions like the Rangers did. But for what they've spent, I think they've gotten more than they've paid for, which is really, really good. But this isn't like the bullpen of last year or in 2023 or this year, where if it sucked, everyone goes, well, of course it sucked. Look at the guys they brought in. Everyone could see that. Or when the Cowboys aren't last year, everyone goes, well, yeah, they have stars, but they don't have any depth, right? Everybody thought, man, this offense is going to be great. Jock Peterson, Jake Berger, Adolis Garcia, Wyatt Langford, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien. Josh Young. This offense is just insane. And then it just has been highly underwhelming. I don't know if it's hitting coaches. I don't know if it's just everyone happens to be cold at the same time, which is the worst thing to be. I don't know if hopefully that means everyone gets hot at the same time.
Right. Also, Seager's been out for the last 10 days. And it's just when your best player isn't on the field.
But your offense is supposed to be tailor-made to where, hey, Seager's down. Well, Smith won a Silver Slugger last year. If he can't step in and hit, you know what I mean? I get that Langford has been down at time, a couple weeks, and Seager's been down a little bit this season. I get that, but the offense should still not be hitting like this. And everyone's getting concerned about Semien. The slowing bat speed scares me, because that is a sign of, it's his defense is still great. Mm-hmm. And he's not worth the contract just because of his defense, but his leadership and defense is still solid enough to where and we won a World Series, so I don't care what we pay him.
Yeah, no matter what, he's already worth it.
He's a legend in the Rangers history. But the slowing bat speed does worry me, but I think there's one guy on this team that can weather that storm. It's Marcus Semien. He's probably the hardest worker on the team. You know, one of those first guys in, last guys out type of thing. And so I'm not worried about it yet. I'm starting to get to that point where the first level is frustration, and I've hit that point now where I'm frustrated. And the next phase is leading towards acceptance of just this is where the offense is, which is crazy because like it sucks that Jock Peterson's had a great career, and this is how he starts his Rangers tenure. Jake Burger's had a career of mashing the ball. Adolis Garcia is hitting the crap out of the ball when he gets it, but he's missing too much. Typical. Wyatt Langford's probably our best hitter right now. He's still hitting. He's hitting like 320. He's got like 6 home runs. He's just a phenomenal player. I mean, he's a future MVP, superstar. Go ahead and offer him that contract, please. Now, do it. Don't wait. Don't be the Don't be the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Don't wait until his market goes up. Pay him. Give him the Merrill contract. Give him more. I don't care. Pay him. Get him locked up for 15 years. He should never wear a uniform. That number 36 should be retired by the Rangers when this is all said and done. That's how good I think this guy is. Josh Young has been playing well. Trying to go through all the lineup. Carter's finally figuring it out, and he was able.
Maybe he'll be the
they're giving
special.
And,
in 2023,
savior.
He came up and the offense woke up, and they obviously made the run to the World Series. So maybe he comes up and he just sparks something.
Maybe I think they finally realized that Leody Taveras is just not the answer. He was there for a year, and you happened to win the World Series that year. So thank you, Leody. You'll be a legend in Rangers history. But I think it's time for him to be what I think he is, which is a fourth outfielder. Plays even then,
or a trade asset.
The problem is he can't play defense anymore. His defense has regressed so badly, and he misreads everything. Balls get behind him more than he keeps in front of him. It's just it's not fun to watch, and he needs to. I would honestly rather have Kevin Pillar out there, even against righties. I don't care. Just give Pillar's a better fielder at minimum, and he has the potential to be a better hitter. And then Dustin Harris, and I liked Harris when I follow the minor leagues more than almost anyone I know in my friends and family circle. And he was a guy that I kind of had highlighted on my page when we got him, and I believe it was the Mike Minor trade. He was a throw-in. Nobody knew who he was, and they pick him up. And, I mean, you look at him, he's got a great build for baseball. He's a good swing. He plays defense. He can play corner infield and corner outfield, so that's a pretty valuable versatility there. And I'm excited he's finally getting his extended opportunity in the big leagues, and he's showing that he can play. But you're right. I think the answer is Evan Carter, but we'll see what they decide to do. He's mashing the ball, and he was able to play, I don't know if it was yesterday or a couple days ago, but he played a day game after a night game, which shows that he didn't have an issue there. Look, his back is going to be the story of his career. I mean, he may not play 10 years. He may not even play 6 or 7 years. I don't know. We just don't know. We don't know what it is. People of internet sleuths have tried to even I've tried to look it up and what could cause blah blah blah. But just to see like what is it? And I understand why he wants his privacy. I'm not saying he should come out and say it. No, he's absolutely entitled to keep that under wraps. And I don't blame him. Baseball fans can be ruthless sometimes, as seen with the Jarren Duran incident that happened. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Awful thing. But it's going to be it's going to be the story of Evan Carter's career. I hope it's not stayed potential just because of his injuries. But we'll see. Maybe he's the answer. Maybe he's not. I think if they keep playing like this for a couple more weeks, I think by the end of this month, if it's still like this, you're going to be seeing a different lineup. I don't know if trades. I don't know if they want to bring guys up.
There's going to be a trade at some point. I don't know if it's going to be a selling point or if it's going to be trying to bring someone who's a...
I don't think CY would sell because this roster's not built to sell.
I agree.
If you want to sell, God, you're going to sell everybody. But guys like Langford, you're not going to sell. No. You are in a position... This is different from last year. Last year was you were banged up, regressed. It was a hangover. It was a bad year. Now you're built to win. With DeGrom healthy going into May, as I knock on the desk here, knock on wood, he's still healthy and pitching really well.
Mm-hmm.
Leiter is pitching phenomenal. Rocker's up and down. He'll have a start where he looks great, have a start where he looks bad. Just trying to find the consistency. Malley and Evaldi look great. Our pitching staff is
Malley doesn't look good right now. I'll tell you that.
What happened?
I think it's already 1-0. He's at 30 pitches in the first inning.
No. It's looking at this thing right now. It's 0-0. First and second with 2 outs.
1-0 now.
Oh, did you see?
Yeah.
Are you on?
The app that I'm on is very fast.
Are you on Reel?
Yeah.
Anyway, Mally's been pitching well throughout the season. Anyway, it's just the Rangers are. I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned yet. If it's still like this by the end of the month, I'm a lot more concerned. And right now, what are you? A game over 500.
Yeah.
So you're maintaining 500 ball right now, which is fine.
And playing awful.
Tread water.
Yeah.
Figure it out. If there's a group of guys that can figure it out, it's this. If there's a to use the words of Kevin Millar about the 0-4 Red Sox, if there's a group of idiots that can figure this out, it's this one. But looking at the rest of the league, obviously we were talking about this walking into the studio. Aaron Judge still hitting like 427, just absolutely
unbelievable,
ridiculous numbers. And they're leading the East by a game and a half over Boston. So happy that Boston's back. It's fun to see the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. Baseball is better when it's truly a rivalry.
Totally.
The Orioles have completely fallen off a cliff again. It's 12-18.
Can't say I predicted it, but I predicted it.
Yeah, who could have saw this one coming? Detroit leading by a game and a half in the Central in the weirdest division in the history of baseball, because you have the Detroit Tigers 19-12 and then the White Sox at 7-23. So hey, they're not the worst record in the league.
Huh.
We'll get to that one in a second. The Mets are 21-10, absolutely on fire.
And Soto's not even playing well yet.
Yeah, and again, when next week I may actually have some numbers like who's playing well and who's not on each team, because right now I don't know. To be completely honest with everybody,
right?
The draft takes over my it envelops me in April, and so I just kind of lose the baseball storylines, which is why I'm doing this right now. Cubs are 2 games above Cincinnati. Cincinnati's kind of where we are. They're just kind of treading water. Pittsburgh is not great. Dodgers are 21-10. Shocker. San Diego's 19-11. I'm not shocked by that. Giants are 19-12. A little shocked by that. They had that stupid Little League play against us. We're not going to talk about it. And then the worst team in baseball, who can't even get a top 10 pick next year because of tanking rules, the Colorado Rockies. 5 wins and 25 losses.
Oof.
And if you'd think, and you know what? Hey, at least their expected win-loss is 8 wins. 8-22. That's their expected win-losses. Hey, they're playing worse than they should be, I guess. They have a run differential. Oh, my God. Wow. So for context, the Rangers' run differential is -9.
Rangers haven't scored. Well, actually, they probably passed them now with the big game they had a couple days ago. But they were up to that point where last in the league in runs scored.
I'm going to give us some context here. The second worst run differential in baseball is the Marlins, who are 12-18 at -51. Okay, that's the second worst run differential in the entire league. The one behind that is -49 with the Orioles. Then -41 the Angels. Then -32 the White Sox. And in first place, the Rockies, -77.
Whew.
Folks, that's not good, if you didn't know. So there's your baseball update. Not worried about the Rangers, but we will be in about a month if it's still like this. But now we move to football, where this is pretty much the last football thing we're going to be talking about for a while, which is the draft. And I don't do draft grades because I agree with a lot of people that aren't draft people, that they're just stupid. I mean, how can I grade a draft when I haven't seen how these guys are going to perform? I can say I like what they did going into this season, but I don't know how it's going to work out. So we're going to do it by division. I'm not going to name every single pick because we would be here forever, but I'm just going to kind of, name some guys in each team's draft class that I like. Chase, if you have anything to add about baseball, I completely forgot you didn't really talk, and I kind of dominated the segment.
I mean, it's your segment, to be fair. But no, I had my points in there, and that was it.
All right. Well, he's not the best co-host in Denton for nothing, folks. If you're a major league fan, you understand the reference. My dad's probably laughing at me right now. That broadcast school is really paying off. Looking at the NFC East, I have to turn away from Chase here, so you're going to talk to the back of my head. The Cowboys, we're gonna obviously, since we're a Cowboys-oriented show, we will talk about them first. They drafted in the first round Tyler Booker, so I will go for every pick for the Cowboys because it's the Cowboys. Out of Alabama, love the pick. Showing what they did the rest of the draft,
yes.
Considering who they got later, I really like what they did there.
I would have loved to see if they, looking back at it now, if they had the exact same draft, if they would have traded back from 12 to 20, for example, and just were able to get a fourth as well. That would have been something I would have, and still gotten Booker.
But I'm okay. I'm okay with getting Booker.
I'm fine with it.
I don't think Booker would have lasted that long because Zabel went 18, and I don't think the Seahawks take Zabel over Booker.
Okay.
So I think you were kind of forced to take your guy when I think they had trade offers. I think the trade offers were not worth what Tyler Booker was, if that makes sense. Then at 44, and this is an unfortunate part for the Cowboys, the board on day 2 did not set up well for them in terms of offense. Pretty much all of those top running backs, I know Samson and Caleb were still there, but they clearly didn't like
we'll
them.
Get to that later. Yeah.
They clearly didn't like those players, at least at that value. But the top of the first 6-7 players on my board, I think at both picks were all defense. So you have a defensive board. So they go defense both times. Donovan Ezraku at pick 44. I had him pegged more as a 3-4 defensive, 3-4 outside linebacker. But sure, he can play in the 4-3. I mean, he's just a great pass rusher. I think that those skills are translatable. When I do my draft analysis, I just look at what does he fit best in, and he fit best into a 3-4, I felt like. But no reason why he can't fit into a 4-3, especially since he does play fairly well against the run for a guy that's not, very big. He's long arms, but he's not very big. And then Savone. This is not Siobhan. I looked this up. Sorry to him. I was calling him Siobhan Revel. It's Savone Revel. It's going to be so weird because that H is just going to throw me completely off. So Savone Revel out of East Carolina. So a little bit fun fact for me. So when I, the first, the college football game, first one in over a decade, everyone was picking their dynasties, who are they going to do? Which, by the way, now that Enter Sandman is going to be in the game, I am going to do a Virginia Tech one in 26. That maybe I either am going to do that or I'm going to start a lower team for 2-3 years and then move to Virginia Tech. But my first dynasty in this game was East Carolina. I like the purple. I like the Pirates. I like the purple Pirates. I thought that was really cool. And so I actually played with Savone Revel in my dynasty for the first season. He had 8 interceptions. I think he won the Jim Thorpe Award. Where he played phenomenal for me. So this is kind of cool to be able to have played with the guy in my dynasty in my my free time, and then to be able to now see him on my team was really cool. And he was the best value I think in the entire draft, at least maybe outside of Shedeur, maybe. I mean, I had Revel's the 14th best player on my board, and we got him at 76. So
yeah,
and he fell because the ACL. Hopefully, he comes back fully healthy, and if he does, it's a steal. And then you go to day 3. And you're taking BPA. There are rumors that they had Jaden Blue as the 3rd best running back in the draft, which I think they're lying. I think that's smoke. I don't think that's true. I think the only true part is maybe one of their scouts had that, but they themselves, I don't think did. But who knows? It's the Cowboys.
I'm happy with the pick.
They took Jaden Blue.
I'm very happy with it.
You have to super glue the ball to his hands, but he's speed. He's fast.
He's got a lot of talent, and it's a playmaker.
Can't wait to see him in the preseason.
It's a playmaker. Yeah.
And then Shamar James, who they traded up for, and I think what happened here is they were trying to trade up for Blue. When that didn't happen, I think they already had. I'm sure what happened is they called the team. Hey, would you like to trade up? No, okay. And then that team called them after they took Blue and said, hey, do you want to trade up still? Sure. So they traded up for Shamar James, who I'm going to have to go do a study on. And the only football content next week is I'm going to probably go study James and then a couple of the other guys they took that I didn't study, just so I can give an analysis on them as a draft guy, and then we'll be done. But from what I understand, super athletic, rangy, sideline-to-sideline linebacker that can cover, just maybe he's a little bit slow on play recognition. Needs to, but I mean, Eberflus's background's a linebackers coach. That's where he was here. I think Dave Borghandi's a great linebackers coach, so I think they're going to have some good I think they can coach him up. Then they took Johnny Cornelius, who, when I was watching Connerly, the right tackle, he stood out a couple times. They announced him as a guard, so I don't know where they view him. announced him as a guard, but he played right tackle in college, so there's the positional flexibility. I think what this is Josh Ball and Matt Waletzko have not really worked out the way you would have liked, and I think that this is a, if you want to cut them in training camp, you can.
Right.
Then they took a guy I actually watched, someone who was in my 155 player evaluations, which was Jay Toia, the DT. I don't like calling him a DT. He's a nose tackle from UCLA. Big dude. It's got the hair coming out of his helmet, and Carson Schlesinger was able to make a lot of his plays because Jay Toia was keeping him clean. He can absorb double teams. He actually is pretty athletic for a big guy. He's not slow. He moves quickly. He does a good job of getting anticipation on the snap count, and it probably helps him move a little quicker than it should. But I think he's a pretty athletic guy for a nose tackle. I think he's a perfect backup to Mozzie. I think Mozzie's your starter right now, and I think he's a perfect guy to back up Mozzie. Because you need to run stuffing help, and this is what this guy does. He stuffs the run. Then you took Phil Malfa, who's just like a sledgehammer as a running back. He's like 6 foot 230. Runs hard. Have to go watch him. Watch some highlights of him, and dude, he looks like a sledgehammer running the football. And then Tommy Akingbasodi, I believe is how you say that, from Maryland. He's a flyer. He's a defensive tackle. They're just, he was probably someone they had a draftable grade on and just said, we'll take him here. I mean, it's pick 247. Who cares?
Right.
So I would say the Cowboys had a very, very, very good draft.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at the rest of the division...
Well, also, hopefully just, the thing that stands out the most is that, they did not take a wide receiver. And obviously, a lot of people had, them in the first round taking a receiver. And
they didn't take a receiver.
And they just never took one. And then the reports come out saying that they're talking with Amari Cooper on a potential reunion, which would be awesome. So I think for me to be, I'm very happy with this draft, but for me to be, overly excited about this draft is if they go out and they get a receiver in free agency or I don't know if they can trade for one, just to sign, a guy like Amari Cooper. I know Keenan Allen's out there. Maybe they were talking about a trade with George Pickens, which I would love. But go out and get, Coop, for example. And then I'm looking forward to watching this season if they can just address that wide receiver 2 position.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't actually go by division because I don't want to have to search for every single team on here. So we're just going to go by alphabetical order and just skip the Cowboys. We talked about them. The Cardinals, I think they had, looking at this draft, I like it. I like the Will Johnson pick in the second round. Obviously, tremendous value at 47. The Nolan pick, if it works out, is phenomenal. If it works out, is the big key to that one. I like Jordan Birch. I like Cody Simon. I like Denzel Burke. And they also took a Texas guy, Hayden Connor, and then Keaton Crawford from Nevada. So overall, I think it was a pretty solid draft for the Cardinals, and I think they addressed their needs on defense well. They'll figure out offense later.
If Will Johnson stays healthy, it's like you said about Ruffle, it's a steal.
And the Falcons obviously didn't have a ton of picks after trading up back into the first round, trading next year's first. But
for Pierce,
we all knew their needs, and they addressed it with a starting edge and a starting edge. So they got 2 new edges with Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. And then, ironically, took 2 safeties with Jesse Bates on the roster. They took Xavier Watts from Notre Dame, who's a player I really love, and then they took Billy Bowman, who actually didn't really realize this. My head coach from Octati, Shane Tollison, coached him at Denton Ryan. Didn't know that until I saw Billy Bowman's draft party was at Tolly's house. Until I saw the pictures, and I was like, oh, that's really, really cool. So shout out to him. Really like his ability to play either he's a lot like Jesse Bates. Can play down the nickel if you need him to, can play up top, free. Overall, it's okay. You address your defensive needs. You didn't really help out your quarterback, and you're going to need to help him out because you need to keep him upright because he's already got a long injury history, but we'll see what they do.
Yeah.
Ravens crushed the draft. Absolutely crushed the draft. This is one of those, I may have to name all their freaking players because they crushed the draft. Malachi Starks screams Ravens player.
Yeah.
Him and Kyle Hamilton is absolutely unfair as a safety duo. And then they got Mike Green at 59. Hold on just 1 second.
Yeah. Guys like Mike Green and guys like Donovan Ezeraku, for example, you just go back to the Cowboys, those are guys that we had first round grades on, and we had them, in our mocks in the first round. And the fact that they fell to these spots in the draft, it's a gift, and you hope that it pays off.
I mean, obviously there are the character concerns with Mike Green in the outfield. Sorry for the coughing, but there are the character concerns. But if it never causes a problem in the NFL, guess what? You got him at 50. You had a first round player at 59.
Yeah.
Emory Jones was kind of seen as a reach, but then they crushed day 3. Teddy Buchanan, absolute playmaker from Cal as a linebacker. I watched his first game. The first tape I plugged in was his tape against Auburn. I think he had 2 sacks and 2 forced fumbles in that game. Wrecked it. So you're talking about a guy that can just wreck games as a linebacker. And then they actually took a kicker, Tyler Loop, and then they took Carson Vinson, who was a small school guy from Alabama A&M, one of my favorite players in the draft, who had a 3rd-round grade on. They got him in the 6th, Bilal Kone from Western Michigan. This guy could start for them. I think he's that good of a corner. LeJontay Wester, Aeneas Peebles, one of the best nickel corners in the draft, Roger Longerbeam, and then Garrett Dellinger. This was just I don't like to give grades. This is like an A+. I mean, they crushed the draft. The Bills, I think, addressed their needs pretty well. I think getting Maxwell Harrison and Jordan Hancock and Dorian Strong, so 3 really, really good corners, especially Harrison and Strong, I think, have really high potential for them.
Yep.
Getting TJ Sanders to help out on the defensive front, and Landon Jackson and Deion Walker, so they really addressed that defensive line. And they got the last 3rd-round grade I had was Chase Lunt from UConn, and they snagged him at 206. So I'm thinking pretty good value for them. And then by the way, they also got Jackson Hawes from Georgia Tech, who's like one of those road grading tight ends. He fits Buffalo so well. Carolina, I think, Ted McMillan, Nick Skirton, Princely Umamielen. It's a pretty solid first 2 days. And then getting Trevor Etienne and Jimmy Horn and Lathan Ransom all on day 3 was great. And then I like Cam Jackson. And then Mitchell Evans. Like, all these players were guys that I knew. Mitchell Evans, Notre Dame. And then Cam Jackson. He's slow, but he's big, and he's strong, and he's stout at the point of attack. And he will clog up running lanes. The Bears had a weird draft. The Bears had a really weird draft.
Yeah.
Colson Loveland at 10. You're kind of...
Over Warren.
But then Luther Burden at 39 is absolutely disgusting. And then Ozzie Trapillo also in round 2. And then Shamar Turner in round 3. Or in round 2. And then day 3, they actually took the first guy, I think, on day 3 that I had like a UDFA grade on, which was Ruben Hippolyte from, I think, Maryland. One of the best names in the draft, Ruben Hippolyte.
It's a great name.
But overall, I think they were able to address some of their needs, but kind of a weird draft, to be completely honest. Zal Frazier, I think, as a corner, he's my next Tariq Woolen. Literally the same school, 34-inch arms. He's not as thick, he's not as big as Woolen is, but he's got the long arms and the speed. The Bengals, they took 3 offensive players.
But you knew defense was coming first round, that's for sure.
They took Shamar Stewart and Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter on the defensive side of the ball to address linebacker and defensive end. Who's playing corner? I don't know. Who's playing safety? I don't know.
Jamar Chase is...
Who's playing defensive tackle? I don't know, but guess who's playing receiver?
Yeah.
Both guys.
They'll score 50 points.
But they'll give it 55. But I like Dylan Fairchild. I think he can really solidify the interior of their offensive line. Jalen Rivers, solid backup. And then Taj Brooks is a guy that a lot of Cowboys fans liked coming out of Texas Tech. Overall, it's okay. They addressed the needs more than they got needs over better players, if that makes sense. Cleveland, getting Graham, Schlesinger, Judkins, and Harold Fannin, and Dylan Sampson. Just those picks alone, that's a great draft.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. They also took Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd and Shadur Sanders in the 5th.
They kind of just were on an auto draft type of draft.
It's maybe the weirdest draft I think I've ever seen. It is absolutely weird. Sampson had him like 35 on my board. They get him at 126. Gabriel I had in the 5th round. They get him at 94. Shadur Sanders, I had it like 53, 52. They got him at 144. I mean, you're looking at just probably the weirdest draft thing I've ever seen with 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, a tight end, a linebacker. It's just a weird draft.
Right.
But they got a lot of talent.
And they also, with the trade with Jacksonville,
Got an extra first round pick.
they got an extra first round pick. So,
yes, as I dropped my phone.
nice.
Instead of my pin this week. So I think if you take away those 2 quarterback picks, it's a hell of a draft. But the quarterbacks are going to dominate the draft class, unfortunately. All right, did the Cowboys, the Broncos. Obviously, getting Jahdae Barron was filthy. Him and Surtain are just going to be a filthy duo. RJ Harvey, I thought Pat Bryant was a bit of a reach, but overall, it's okay. It's not great, but getting Barron and Harvey really helps this draft along.
100%. Detroit,
I think, got a lot of Detroit-like players. Tyleik Williams, Tate Ratledge, a self-described dirtbag. Isaac Tesla was the first player in day 2 that I had not watched. So I'm kind of pissed at the Lions for that. And they took Ahmad Hassanin, who's the first Egyptian-born player that's going to play in the NFL out of Boise State.
Very cool.
Really liked him. I think his nickname was like the Egyptian Nightmare. It's like really cool.
Who was the first round pick?
Tyleik Williams.
Oh, he was the first round.
Yeah. So they addressed their. I mean, got to think.
They don't need much. I mean, it's just
You need to stop Saquon Barkley in the NFC, and that's what you're doing with this pick. Green Bay, great draft. Yeah. Matthew Golden.
Wait, what was a receiver in the first round?
Receiver in the first round. Anthony Belton, who's just a monster of a left tackle. Savion Williams. They double-digit receiver. So I don't know who the receiver's going to be. But then they also got Baron Sorrell, day 3, who was there. That was a really cool moment to see Goodell come out in like his business casual clothes and announce Baron Sorrell, and he came out there and hugged the. It was a really cool moment.
Yeah.
And not only is he a great player, but I think we're all now hoping that he works out just because it's a great story. They got Warren Brinson. They got some nice players, but I think their first 4 picks they absolutely crushed. The Texans trading back out of the first round, so they had a little bit more. They kind of went quantity over quality, but Jaden Higgins, Ariante Ursary, Jalen Knoll, and Jalen Smith is a pretty good day 2 haul, especially since Higgins and Knoll are going to be reunited from their college days at Iowa State.
There are a few teams that drafted multiple of the same players from the previous year.
From the Cyclones? Yeah. No, not reunited. I mean, like, they were both this year.
Right. No, I'm saying, like, not reunited, sorry. They, like, Golden and Sorrell, for example. Like, there was players that the team drafted that were playing together last year in college. Sorry, I'll rephrase.
Getting Woody Marks, I think was a solid get there in day 3. And then obviously the big one is Jalen Reed and then Graham Mertz. They drafted a quarterback I think they drafted him over Quinn Ewers, kind of became the thing. But cool. It's a cool draft. Nothing special. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Colts crushed it. Warren, Tua Malau, Justin Wally was a bit of a reach. DJ Giddens, Tim Smith, Hunter Wohler, Riley Leonard. It's a great draft class.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Warren and Tua Malau at the top of it. It's a good draft. Jags traded up, got Travis Hunter, came back, got Caleb Ransall in the 3rd, Wyatt Milam in the 3rd, Tootin, who I really wanted the Cowboys to get in the 4th, then got Jack Kaiser and LaQuint Allen, Jonah Monheim. So I think they overall had a very, very good draft.
They had a good draft because they got Travis Hunter. I mean, you got the best player in the draft. So you do what you got to do to get him, and they did.
Yeah. Chiefs are just drafting for depth at this point, and they got a ton of it. In fact, their first several picks that I watched film on all their picks except for one, Brashard Smith, who I watched at SMU, was a really good player.
Yeah, good player.
Josh Simmons fell because of the knee. They got tremendous value for him. Omar Norman Lott, tad bit of a reach, but he fits what Spags likes. He likes those upfield defensive tackle rushers. Obviously, Chris Jones. He looked a lot like Chris Jones on his tape. I didn't want to give that comp because that comp should be reserved for a superstar defensive tackle, but he looked a lot like Chris Jones. Ashton Gelati, who's team captain. I mean, he plays his butt off every snap out of Louisville as an edge. Noel Williams, one of the most competitive corners in the draft. Jalen Royals, who lit it up at Utah State, got better every year. Jeffrey Bassa from Oregon in the 5th. I think they just got tremendous value at every pick. And it felt like they were taking best players available every time, which is great because that's what you do when you already have a team. Raiders needed a lot, and I think they got a lot. Ashton Jeanty, not Jeanty. I've seen people saying it's Jeanty. Jack Besh, Darian Porter, Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant, Dante Thornton, Tonka Hemingway, J.J. Pegues, and then Cody Lindenberg. And they also decided that they were going to have a weird draft. They drafted Cam Miller, quarterback from North Dakota State, can run like that read option RPO offense. And then they drafted the quarterback from Montana State, who everyone is calling him the next Edelman for a couple reasons. One, he has like 4.3 speed, so he was listed as a receiver here, but he actually showed up at a football camp when he was like 11 years old with a Edelman jersey. So it's like someone he really likes, looked up to, which makes us feel old because, well, we're the same age because we looked up to Julian Edelman growing up. I think overall the Raiders with new coach Pete Carroll had a great draft to usher in this new era of Raiders football.
And they got Genty, a potential generational running back.
Yeah.
I don't know who I looked at the Cowboys schedule. They have the Raiders.
Oh,
not looking forward to that.
Chargers, Marion Hampton, Trey Harris addresses their offensive needs.
Mm-hmm.
Jamari Caldwell, Kyle Kennard addresses their defensive needs. And they took a couple other nice players like Aronde Gadsden and Keandre Lambert-Smith to kind of round out the class.
Good draft.
Harbaugh got a good draft. Rams, it used to be F them picks. Now it's give me them picks. So they traded back. They got an extra first for next year. So I think that obviously that's already a win right there. Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon, he fits what McVay likes, the versatile. Tyler Higbee like tight ends. But I thought Josiah Stewart and Jarquez Hunter were really good values. And then Chris Paul was one of those. I had like 5 fourth-round linebackers, and Paul was one of them. So overall, especially with the trade back, it's a good draft.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins, they need a lot of help. They need a lot of help right now. Grant, Savania, Phillips, I think were fine picks. Ollie Gordon was fine. Quinn Ewers is kind of the wild card of their draft just because
7th round. I mean,
he's already the best quarterback on that roster. So we'll see what comes out of Miami. But I think right now it's the Bills division and then like everybody else, like because everyone else is just rebuilding and not really doing anything. He doesn't have the talent. So the Bills, it's their division to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what? One team has a quarterback. Another team kind of has a quarterback, and the other team has no quarterback. So I'll let you figure out who's which.
Well, who are you referring to? Justin Fields? Is he no quarterback? Or?
He's no quarterback.
Okay.
The Vikings, Donovan Jackson, I thought was great. Stole him right in front of the Texans.
You think that's why they traded back?
But yeah, no, they didn't trade back.
No, the Texans.
Yeah,
you think that's why they traded back because they wanted Jackson.
Yes. Look, they had I think the fewest draft picks in the entire NFL. They only had 5 picks, but I think they made them count. Ty Felton, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, Kobe King is a really good linebacker from Penn State. What?
No, I was just watching the Rangers, and there was just some guy commenting, here's an idea, score runs.
Yeah. You know what makes the Rangers such a good team? Scoring more runs than the other one. I think the Vikings tried to make the most out of a very low amount of draft picks. The Patriots absolutely, had a phenomenal draft. Elliott Wolf, I guess, can get his flowers, but I think this was Vrabel. Will Campbell at 4, it's a great pick. And then Travion Henderson and Kyle Williams as playmakers for your offense, for your young quarterback. Mm-hmm. And then Jared Wilson, who's going to be the future center there to protect him. Then Craig Woodson was fine from Cal, but then I think they had back-to-back slam dunk picks with Josh Farmer and Braden Swinson, who were both, I think, 2nd round, 3rd round grades for me. So, talking about tremendous value there on day 3. And then they took a kicker, and then the first guy that was not on my entire top 500 was Marcus Bryant from Missouri, who they took. And I relish telling Seth, well, you guys just took the first guy that wasn't in my top 500, so there you go. What below DJU, if that makes any, if that means anything to people. Oof. And then they took Kobe Minor, was Mr. Relevant, and then the Patriots, the ghost of Bill Belichick, had to make a Bill Belichick pick, and they picked Julian Ashby, the long snapper from Vanderbilt, was taken number 251 overall. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Overall, a fun draft. I think for once, Patriots fans can enjoy the draft they had and look forward to the season. Yeah. The Saints, they have so many needs on the football team, and I think they addressed them really, really well with some very, very good players. Kelvin Banks, tackle guard potential there. Tyler Shuck, wait and see. Vernon Broughton, wait and see. But Jonas Senker, Denny Stutzman, Quincy Riley, and Fadil Diggs, and Devin Neal were all guys that I studied and really, really liked. Just for everyone that knows, everyone that if I say I studied them, that means they were in my top 155. And then the only person that was outside of my top 155 that I watched was Riley Leonard. So actually my top 154. And then Riley Leonard was not in 155. But so that tells you what I think about all these guys.
Yeah, I think the Saints had a,
Jordan liked it. Jordan,
it was a whatever
Saints
draft,
fan.
but they got Banks, and that was the big, that was the obvious, shocker. Their first round pick was the highlight of their draft. But I think,
I think they drafted good football players.
I think they drafted good players, but getting Banks, potential best lineman in the draft. So
the Giants, good first few picks: Abdul Carter, Darius Alexander, Cam Scadaboo. I think the Jackson Dart one is we'll wait and see how that one pans out. But they didn't give up a lot to get him.
No,
so
I like it.
I feel like it's a lower. If they give up next year's first, I'd be judging it a lot more harshly. But they didn't. They gave up, I think, their second and like a third, and they're happy.
And they got the guy that they hope can change their franchise. So I mean, look,
Exactly.
you go for it. I like the initiative, taking initiative to get a guy that hopefully can change your franchise.
Jets, I like the Mimbu pick in the first. I loved the AZ Thomas and the Malachi Moore picks. Overall, just trying to maybe show some improvement this next season. The Eagles, of course, the Eagles had a great draft. Jahad Campbell
just falls to them.
Andrew Makuba, Ty Robinson, Smail Mondin, and then Antoine Powell-Ryland had like 16 sacks last year for VTech. So, I mean, it's just insane what the Eagles were able to do in this year's draft. Super frustrating as a Cowboys fan to see them have a good draft. Steelers did not reach for a quarterback, but they did take Will Howard in the 6th. I think is very solid value for him.
Who's their starter right now, I guess.
But, I mean, you look at their draft picks, Derek Harmon, slam dunk. Caleb Johnson in the 3rd, slam dunk. Jack Sawyer in the 4th at pick number 1, 2, 3. It's a great pick.
That was another one.
I mean, you're
Howard and
you're
Sawyer.
looking at the two captains of Ohio State both on your roster.
Mm-hmm.
My God, that is a great team. That is a great draft class right there. The Niners, I think, had some reaches. I think Michael Williams was a bit of a reach. I thought Nick Martin in the 3rd was a bit of a reach. I thought Upton Stout in the 3rd was a bit of a reach. But I think they kind of made up for it with Alfred Collins in the 2nd round. C.J. West at number 113, and then Jordan James at 147. And then Curtis Rourke. They also took a quarterback. That's fun. Seahawks, solid draft. You have a quarterback. You're hoping that you can just acquire good football players to go into the season with. I mean, because that division's wide open. I mean, is the Niners, the Cardinals, and then the I'm blanking. Seahawks,
Rams.
Niners, Rams. Thank you. Well, none of those 4 are like powerhouses. So the Seahawks have a chance to really take hold of that division. And I think with guys like Gray Zabel, Nick Amenwari, Riley Mills, Damian Martinez, and Ricky White and Torrey Horton, all are guys that can help them out this season. And then obviously the big one was Milroe in the 3rd. So we'll see if they can, it's
a good pick.
If Clint Kubiak can develop Jalen Milroe. The Bucks, I thought Egbuka and Midget Morrison was a great 1-2 punch. I had a first on Morrison. I think he was my second to last first rounder still on the board. I think Mike Green was my last one that got... No, Revel was my last one that got taken.
Yeah.
I like the Jacob Parrish pick. I like the double dip at corner when you need to get younger. I think they lost Carlton Davis to the Patriots. So I like the David Walker pick. Ted Johnson, Elijah Roberts.
Look, they have 17 wide receivers now who they could potentially play.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
But look, I mean, obviously,
and Shiloh. Don't forget Shiloh.
Did they sign him as an
UDFA, yeah.
Yeah. But look, they got Evans and Godwin who are obviously getting up there in age. You saw good signs of Jalen McMillan last year. And then adding Egbuka, who, it's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Tennessee, almost done here, folks. If you're still with us, thank you very much. Titans took Cam Ward, Oluwafemi Oladejo, Kevin Winston, Elike Manor in the 4th. Overall, and a few other guys, Gunnar Helm. I think it's a good draft. I think they can be proud of the draft they had. Obviously, you have so many needs. I think that you were able to address most of those needs. And, I really think it was a solid draft for them.
Cam Ward.
You're not going to be winning a Super Bowl this year or probably next year, but that gives you time to let and see what these guys can do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the last team, the Washington Commanders, they reached on Josh Connolly, fine by me, don't like the Commanders. Trey Amos, good value for him at 61. Jalen Lane's kind of a receiver, kick returner, cool for them. And then Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, Arizona. I think they didn't have a ton of picks. They only had 5 picks, and I think they try to make the most of them. It's a fine draft, but nothing special. So there's my analysis of every team's draft class, what I liked, what I didn't like about them. Again, I really like the Cowboys draft. I think they nailed it.
Yeah.
I think they decided to acquire good football talent over their needs more, which is fine by me. Acquire good players. If 4 or 5 of these players become impact players for you, are you complaining that you didn't get a receiver? Mm-hmm. Hell no. You're excited you got who you got. So
just go sign one. Just go sign one.
Go sign, trade, try out. I'll go try out. I don't care. I'll run routes for you. But Chase, you have intramural experience. You can go try out for him.
Let me play.
Thank you guys for listening. Obviously, next week will be the season finale of the season of I think it's season 5. This is like the 5th.
It's semester based, right?
Yeah, we've done it. So time really flies when you're having fun, folks. We will see you guys next week.
See ya.